Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful week, and I'm glad to see that everyone is back here today. Yeah, I know it sounds like we're beating a dead horse, but just to kind of review the rules, make sure everybody's on the same page, so everybody remember what they are, or generally what we're expecting of you, and you guys should expect of each other.
Doesn't one of them have to do with like shutting up when someone's talking or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't say shutting up, but definitely not interrupting each other and being respectful to one another when others in the group are talking. What about other rules?
I remember.
Yeah. All right, well, so to move things along, try not to talk over one another, give each other, we're not gonna have a talking stick, as I said before, but, just be respectful when somebody else is speaking. You guys are gonna have different perspectives, and, let's just keep it a judgment-free zone. Yes, thank you. So now that we've gone over the rules again, would any of you guys feel comfortable sharing anything that has happened in the past week?
Yes, I had my first home soccer game.
Oh.
So my parents were going to come and I scored my first goal of the season.
Oh my God, congrats. I know that takes some serious skill. I literally have two left feet, and so I can't even imagine scoring even one goal.
Well, that's super exciting. How'd your parents feel watching that?
It was good, but only my mom was there. And dad never even showed up. I don't know why I even bothered to ask him to come because he was a jerk, and it makes me really mad that he didn't even try. And especially like my first game.
Right.
Come on, Dad.
Wow, I can't believe he bailed on your soccer game. That's really uncool.
Yeah, that's super upsetting. I can understand why you would feel frustrated towards him. Did you have a conversation with him about it?
No, I don't think I want to. Like, if he's not going to come to my game, I don't have to talk to him. I don't want anything to do with him. He's not even supporting me, so.
So wait, you haven't talked to him since this happened at all?
No.
Okay. Well, I think it's always best to have open communication with your parents, regardless of, what's going on. He's not a mind reader. None of us are. He's not going to know how you're feeling unless you talk to him. He could have a valid excuse for why he wasn't there, It's a possibility.
Yeah, I guess. Probably had something to do with his stupid girlfriend, but I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Why don't you go, Kathy?
Okay, put me on the spot. Well, like 3 days ago, I was talking to my mom about going to like a movie premiere, like one of those like midnight ones, and I was really excited about it. And my mom like flat out said I couldn't go, and we were arguing because I was gonna go with my friends. Literally a teenager, like I graduated high school in like a year or two, whatever, and she just flat out just didn't want to talk to me, and it was frustrating.
What movie was it?
It was the Addams Family one, like the one that just came, like the newer version one. I don't know, I think it's super cool, but she didn't want me to let me see like the midnight premiere one.
Is this like the major issue that you guys have been dealing with this week? Was that kind of disagreement and her, I guess, not trusting you?
The issue was the fact that Scott like just basically butted in and was trying to give my mom advice and trying to like talk to us about our issue, and it's none of his damn business, like our issue.
If I were you, I would tell him to mind his own business.
Right? I know.
Him and your mom are not married.
Mm-hmm. It's literally what I think too. Mm-hmm.
Does he do that sort of thing with your sister too?
He does, like, but she doesn't really seem to care. Like, she's fine with it, and she makes him like he's part of the family, and like he's not. Like, he's just a boyfriend, so he needs to like stay in his lane.
So it looks like Scott is trying to be part of the family and make family decisions. So I can understand why you feel frustrated, and especially because it's the first time that he's tried to provide input on an argument that you and your mom are having.
Frustrated is exactly what I'm feeling right now. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of important to try to put yourself in Scott's shoes. I know that one of your big goals was that you wanted to work towards being able to exist in the same space as Scott because he pisses you off so much, right? So I think it's important to kind of think about how it probably feels being somewhat of an outsider in this situation and coming into, this new family dynamic where, you and your mom have this relationship and he kind of feels not left out, but he feels as though he wants to have some part in the whole family dynamic. And, with you already being all grown up, it makes it really, really difficult, especially when you guys don't have a relationship. So, it's just try and, I guess, put yourself in the other person's shoes. You know how they always say that when you're little? Well,
Yeah.
it's still the thing when you're an adult. Yeah. So as we kind of work through today's session, we'll delve a little bit more into that issue. But I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to kind of talk about their week. So Crystal, how was your past week?
Okay, I guess, you guys should probably prepare yourself for this. So my mom's been drinking a whole lot lately. To the point where there hasn't been a time when I seen her sober. Like I'm the parent and I'm always arguing, yelling at her for being drunk all the time.
That sucks. Why is she drinking so much?
I don't know. It's so annoying. I should be getting in trouble for drinking, not her. And her lecturing me, not the opposite.
Are you in activities like that where you think that you should be getting in trouble?
No, of course not. I'm just saying the rules should be vice versa. I feel like I can't even talk to her about anything that's going on in my life. Like yesterday, this guy asked me out on a date. I don't even know what to do.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, and that's really hard, especially because, typically mother-daughter relationships, it's one of those things where, mom's gonna be like your go-to to talk to you about those kinds of things. So I can see where that would be really hard. Would this be your first date?
Yeah, it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I should be excited about it, and I want to talk to my mom about it, she's too busy emptying bottles of wine and whatever she gets in her hands.
Maybe she's having a midlife crisis or something. My uncle had one of those, and he drove his motorcycle across the states, blew all his money, went to Vegas. It was terrible.
Yeah. Wow. Crystal, I do have to ask, do you feel like with your mom's drinking, do you still feel safe at home? Are you feeling like your needs are still being met?
Well, I'm supposed to have a serious conversation with her. When is that supposed to happen? When she's on her second cup of wine,
Right.
fourth, fifth?
Right.
She isn't coherent enough to even talk to her at times. She's like a sack of potatoes, dirty and useless.
All right. So I can see that you obviously haven't marked your phone.
How can I?
Right, I know. But let's try to refrain from the talk of dirty and useless sacks of potatoes.
That's true.
Yeah, I've noticed honestly lately between the three of you guys, one of our key issues is we're not having open communication with the people that we are having issues with, and that's something that's really important.
But that's the point. I don't want to talk to Scott. I want him out of my life, and I don't want to see him in our house. It's my house, not his house.
Right, and I think that there are just a lot more effective ways to solve issues. It's the first step in solving a problem is to address that a problem exists. You know what I mean? And like I've said before, he's not going to be able to read your mind, and he's probably trying to figure out where he fits in the family dynamic that you guys have that already kind of exists already.
Yeah, so for this section, we will be introducing a role-playing activity. Has anyone ever heard of what this is?
Is that when we act out stuff?
Yeah, sort of. So role-playing is a technique that will allow you guys to play out realistic situations with one another so you get practice before you actually
So like, okay, I think I get it. So basically, it's like I pretend that I'm talking to Scott, and like for example, Crystal could be Scott, and I'd be me, obviously, and we would like act out like what we would say to each other. Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you guys think this is something you can be comfortable practicing in front of each other again?
I guess.
So-
So probably good.
So I guess to start, exactly that, like it's very difficult to start these conversations. And sometimes that's the worst part, once you're in it, obviously you're still gonna feel anxious and uneasy. But the hardest part is that beginning, you know what I mean? So what do you guys think is important to keep in mind in terms of how you want this conversation to look? So, for example, if you tried to have a conversation with Scott in the middle of a grocery store, how do you think that would go?
Probably not well because it's like public and
Right.
like if we get mad, it's embarrassing.
Right. So what are some situations that you guys think would be ideal to have these kinds of conversations?
Like the environment that you would be in, or
Right.
you think it should be.
Quiet, safe, where no one's around and you can yell at them.
Quiet and safe was good.
Right.
Yeah.
You could do without the yelling.
Maybe. We can try without
What
Any
else?
other ideas? Do you think like you want your mom there, or do you want to be alone?
I feel like I probably want just me and Scott, so
Okay.
just like me and like the person that I'm having an
Yeah.
like, argument with basically,
Mhm.
and I probably want it like in a living room or somewhere where like I know like people aren't gonna bother us or
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And I think that's a good idea because then your mom wouldn't have to play sides or pick sides, so that this way it could just be you guys figuring out your issues with each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think a place like the living room is a good idea. I feel as though, like if you try to have this conversation in your room, for example, and maybe it didn't go the way you wanted it to, there's really nowhere for you to go at that point. Because you probably just want to go to your room and, cry or call somebody and complain. But, if you're already in that space, it becomes kind of difficult to disengage from the situation and kind of make an exit, if that makes sense. Yeah, so, I guess just so you guys feel a little more comfortable, Jenna, how about we just kind of like role play an intro of like a basic,
Could go down. Yeah.
right,
What an ideal situation.
right, do you wanna be the kid?
Oh, wait, so which one?
I don't know, I'll be mom, you make up a situation.
Make up any situation. Okay, so I'm going to be a kid that is annoyed with mom for how much time she's spending with, we'll say, said boyfriend and not giving me enough time. So we are in a quiet space in the house with no one else here, just us in the living room per se. So I could start with, hey mom, can I talk to you about something that's been bothering me?
Yeah, what's going on?
So I've just been a little upset recently because I feel like we aren't having a lot of mom and daughter time together because you're out going on dates with your new boyfriend, and I just don't want to lose that close mother-daughter bond that we have.
I feel like I see you all the time though, hon.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like it's not to be like that, but like an effective hangout or like a good time where I feel comfortable opening up because you're going on and on about your boyfriend and stuff going on there. And yeah, I like to see you happy and hear about those things, but I also want you to care about me and want to know what's going on in my life.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'm glad that you brought it up. I wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe we should come up with like a day of the week every week where we have like a designated mother-daughter day in case our schedules get too busy, and we always have at least that one day.
I would really, sounds great.
So obviously, the situation is not always gonna be that ideal, but I can guarantee you that they're gonna thank you that you're not blindsiding them, at least. And having the decency to say like, hey, can I talk to you about something that's bothering me? That's a great way to start. Or just, I have something that's on my mind, you have a minute. Any of those lines would be good.
Because really, your parents might have no idea that you're feeling this way. They could be completely oblivious. So just letting them know might completely help the whole situation.
And in most of your guys' situation, your parents are kind of like in these very big moments in their life. I mean, your dad's having a kid, just moved in with, his girlfriend. Your mom's been drinking a lot, she's having a hard time coping. Mom just moved in Scott, so that, they have a lot of stuff going on, so they might not be picking up on some of the things, even if you guys think that, you've been kind of dropping hints, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right, so.
So would you feel that you would like to start first since you already gave us kind of a scenario earlier?
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not?
Crystal, do you want to be Scott since you're already sitting next to him?
Sure, why not?
All right, good. So in this scenario, you're going to act out Kathy talking to Scott about how she feels about the fact that he stepped in during the argument that you had with your mom about the movie. Why don't you guys face each other a little bit more so it's more of like an ideal, realistic situation?
Okay, so when do we start?
No.
Okay. I'm ready. Can I talk to you about something?
Hey, sweetie.
Okay. Her voice just threw me off. Maybe no voices. Maybe no voices.
Let's do it to normal voices.
Okay, sorry. Scott, can I talk to you about something?
Sure, Kathy. What is going on?
So the other day when me and Mom were talking about an issue that we were having about me going to the movies, you kind of just came in and gave like your opinion on the issue, and I just didn't like that.
Oh, okay. I had no clue you felt that way. I just. I was just trying to solve an issue between you and your mother, and I thought I could help.
I get that. It just feels like you were being too fatherly to me, and like I'm not ready for I already have a father, so it feels very weird for me.
I understand. I'll be more aware of what I say.
Cool. Thanks, Scott.
Cool. Okay. You next.
I like your enthusiasm.
Jeff, do you wanna be my dad?
Yeah, sure.
So I'd probably talk to my dad. I'd say we go on a walk or something, get out of the house. I'd say run, but if I run, I can't run away from him. So.
I think a walk would be nice. It kind of makes it so that you guys don't have to have like constant eye contact.
Yeah, it's not extremely formal. I like that idea.
So, hey Dad, can I talk to you about why you missed my home game last week?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm so sorry I missed it. I didn't mean to.
It really hurt my feelings. I didn't really feel like you cared about me, and it was really important to me that you'd be there, and I was like, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I just thought you'd be there.
I mean, you are important to me, and I promise I'll go to the rest of your games, and I'll go to your outside games as well. How does that sound?
But you're kind of like missing. I wanted you there at my first game. It was a big moment for me, especially when I scored my first goal of the season. Yeah, I just felt like you didn't care enough to be there or to tell me that you couldn't make it. Like, I don't know, were you too busy? I don't know. I didn't find out until Mom told me. I feel like you could have at least told me.
I didn't know it was that important for you. I was at a conference meeting and I couldn't get away from it. I could have tried harder. I thought it was a simple game and I didn't realize that it was a big deal for you. So I'll try it again, and if something happens, I'll definitely let you know.
That'd be nice.
You're welcome.
I think that was really good. I think that you need to not be afraid to tell your dad exactly how you're feeling, because I know that this whole new sibling thing is definitely playing a role in a lot of this, and it's a lot of, dad now has a new kid coming along, and he completely happens to forget that you love soccer. I mean, I feel like he knows that you love soccer, you know what I mean? And he knows that it was important to you for him to be there. So I think it's okay to say, definitely don't sit there and play the blame game, but I think it's okay to say, I felt X, Y, and Z type of way when you did this. I felt really hurt when I scored my goal and I didn't see you in the bleachers cheering for me, that kind of thing. And then just saying, I feel like since we found out about the baby, you're not really too invested in anything that I have going on. It's okay to say that. Crystal, I think you are the last, right?
Yep.
All right.
So you want to help me with this one?
So, for this, do you think you would want to talk about your mom's drinking, or I guess what is the core issue that you really want to address with your mom?
I just want to really know, like, my biggest concern for mom is why does she drink all the time?
Right. And I know you said something really important earlier where you felt like you were being a parent. Yeah. And I know you've talked in the past about how you feel like mom's kind of putting you in the middle of things all the time. So that might be like a good thing to touch on as well. Right?
Hey mom, can I talk to you about something that's been bothering me?
Sure. What is it?
So I feel like that I haven't been able to talk to you because you've been drinking a lot lately, and I just really want to know why. Have you been drinking a lot?
I haven't been drinking that much.
We have plenty of bottles in the trash can to prove you have.
Well, I guess I've been drinking more than I should. I don't know. I am really tired, and it's just really annoying that I have to deal with your dad, and the separation is just it's driving me insane.
I get that it's driving you insane, but you're not understanding how it's affecting me. I feel like I'm being a parent lately, and I have to always lecture you and talk to you about you drinking.
Ooh. I'm sorry. No, I don't want you to feel like you're the parent. Obviously, I'm the mother here, but yeah, I didn't realize that you thought I was drinking too much. Maybe it has been a little out of hand. Yeah, I think I should work on that a little bit. Sorry that you felt that way.
It's okay. I would really appreciate it if you did, because I really want to talk to you about certain things, especially about a boy asked me out on a date yesterday.
Oh, gee. Wow. Okay, we'll have to talk more.
Think about it.
That was good, guys. That was good.
Yeah.
So one thing I will say, be very careful when you guys use the word lie. It can sound a little judgy. I think you did a great job, and I did hear you use some I statements in there. I feel X, Y, and Z when you say or do this. But I definitely think that immediately starting off with why are you drinking so much is going to probably put your mom on the defensive a little bit, if that makes sense. So, yeah, guys, I know it's definitely going to be really, really hard for you guys to tackle some of these conversations and putting yourself in a really vulnerable spot, especially because you guys with kids, your parents kind of have a lot of authority over you guys, so it's definitely really intimidating. But I'm really glad to see you guys at least, being supportive of one another and, seeing you guys kind of bond a little more with each session.
Yeah, you guys did awesome in the social activities. Couldn't have asked for a better job. You guys helped each other, gave one another strength to talk about the feelings that you're having, and we wanted you guys to participate in this activity because we have seen all of you open up to each other, but not to the people who you're having these issues with. So we hope that this activity will enable you guys and empower you to do just that within this week.
So how did you guys feel, after the activity? I guess, maybe how you felt before and how you felt after.
I feel like I was really nervous, and I think that came across when I was role playing. Even though it wasn't real, it just felt like I'm mad, but I don't want to make me feel bad, so I felt really nervous. But right now, I feel pretty good. Now I just kind of went through that, and maybe I won't feel as anxious in the moment. I mean, I'm still upset, but now I know that like I can say it, and it's not as scary.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it was very weird for me to even like role play that I was talking to Scott, just because I typically like avoid him, and so I feel like me actually talking to him was like finally realizing that he is like in the house, and so if we want like solve issues, I have to talk to him about it, and it was surreal basically.
Yeah. And I mean, open communication will allow the other person to understand what's going on. Like I mentioned before, they might be oblivious to your feelings.
Do you guys think that kind of going through this a little bit now gave you kind of a better idea of how you want to phrase things when you actually have this conversation?
Yeah, I think this activity made me realize that I can offend my mom. I've never taken the time to ask her like what's going on, and then like be patient with her. Maybe if I waited until she was like sober to figure out what happened, though I would be able to talk to her better.
Yeah, I feel like I get so tongue-tied sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, it's really easy to get nervous in those situations. I mean, they're really big conversations, guys. I mean, you guys are going through some really heavy stuff right now, and I definitely, like, we don't ever want to take away from that, you know?
But finding the right moment to,
Yeah.
when can we actually sit down?
Right. And, you know, sometimes you can, you know, even if you're shooting them a text throughout the day, like, hey, there's something on my mind. Do you have a minute to talk later? And, you know, you might feel some anticipation throughout the day knowing that you're going to have to talk, but at least then you know, okay, it's planned. I pulled the trigger. We're going to have this conversation. And you can kind of work through that in your head a little bit.
And then that also prepares the parents for that too.
Right.
Be like, oh, I wonder what they want from me though, and then they start thinking what's been going on.
Right. And it, you know, and it can also prepare them, like, you know, just to make sure that they have the time that day to talk to you, especially if you're dead set on, you know, time day or whatever it may be. Just making sure that everybody's schedules are lining up. But I think that's definitely something to consider.
Or maybe opening their eyes as to how they're doing.
Right. Right, that too. Because nobody's a mind reader, right? Yeah. So I'm really happy that you guys all found this to be pretty helpful. I recommend, you know, trying it again before you guys actually have a talk, sit with your friends. Jen and I have role played before.
And these conversations are tough. Even in our real lives, we sometimes have trouble opening up to someone and bringing up an issue, but we figure it out.
Right. So just remember that it's not going to go exactly how you plan it out in your head. It's not going to be perfect, and it doesn't need to be. You just need to be open, communicate openly, be open to what they have to say, listen to what they have to say, and genuinely try to process what they're saying. Try to understand where they're coming from so that they can do the same. But I think activities like this can definitely help you guys get a little bit more confident in discussing these types of things.
Yeah. Thank you guys for an awesome session. Do you have any last minute comments or questions?
So is like our homework gonna be that we talk to them about it and then come back?
So
Is that a
actually,
good idea?
since you guys are technically gonna be, you know, having Thanksgiving, you know, right around the corner, Jen and I decided that you will not have homework after
Oh,
today.
thank God.
But if you
definitely-
feel comfortable to have a conversation, you can do it, but we're not requiring you to do it.
So you want me to ruin my Thanksgiving?
Definitely at least just give some thoughts, you know, have some conversations within yourself of, okay, how do I want to do this? What do I want to say? Write it down, you know, make a list.
So if you guys don't have anything else, have a great week, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Awesome.
Bye.